just easier to take off the carburetor if the whole gasket comes off. Oops. Everything looks pretty clean on it. I'll spray it out. Well, there's some crap down in there. I can't stress this enough. When taking your carburetor apart, take pictures of how things were if you don't have a very good memory. That way when you go to put it back together, you can get it all back together right. It's more of a common mistake that I've seen quite often. Somebody will take something apart, they'll get in a hurry thinking it's really easy, and it's not bad. Carburetors, these mowers, there's not much to them. But if you don't get them right, they don't work. You just got to remember how things went. I've taken dozens of these things apart, hundreds of them, and I remember how to do it anyways. But I'm going to go ahead and take it apart anyways to show you. That pops out of there. You don't want to lose that spring. That spring is kind of important. You guys got to make sure you get all that right. Get it cleaned out of there. The tube and everything's clean. I'm going to go ahead and spray it all out again, because it looks like I had a little bit of an oily residue on it. I don't know, it's kind of hard to say. The other thing is, when you see how that gas came out of there, it's because I pressed that bulb. It's full of gas still. You just want to make sure you get that all out of there before you start spraying it around, because you'll end up having issues with it spraying all over you if you're not careful. Alright, got it all cleaned out. I took the bulb out of there as well. I got all that cleaned. This whole thing's nice and clean now. I don't work on these things for a living, but what works for me may not work for everybody else. These are relatively inexpensive to fix, to replace if you have to replace something on them. If need be, buy a new carburetor. Buy a rebuild kit for them. They're like $20-30 bucks, if that. So, like I said, if you have to replace something in it, it's not that big of a deal. I work on a fairly tight budget, so anything that I do is going to more likely reuse the original stuff, unless I can afford to replace it. But when I took this apart, I realized that I did replace this once before, and it was probably my fault. It ran fine for me. I actually cut my yard a couple of times with it before I gave it back to my dad. But when I pushed this in there, I guess either it didn't snap all the way into place or what, I don't know. All I know is it turned a little bit, and when it did turn, it created a gap in there. So it was pulling a lot of air through here. You got to make sure, and this is my fault, got to make sure you snap that all the way into place. Use a screwdriver if you got to. These are real cheap. I only paid like $2 for it. And it came with the new ring and everything. You see, this is the perfect example. It was an easy mistake to make because it was already together when I took it out of the package. I didn't pay attention when I took the other one apart, and it occurred to me now what it was. This bulb, when I put this thing on there, dumb mistake again, was in there backwards. So it wasn't going to snap into place. This is not going to snap into place like this. This bulb actually sits inside this ring here. Like so. Oh, sorry. Wrong way again. on this ring here. It actually sits flush with that. Just like that. So when you push it in there, it should snap into place. Yeah, now it's clicked, it's in place, and it's going to make a perfect seal on there. It's not going to leak now, which is going to make one hell of a difference now. I think when it runs, it's not going to be sucking a lot of air. It's no big deal that I took it apart and cleaned it. It probably needed it anyways. So that's pretty much that. I'm going to put it back together, and I'll go ahead and do that now. You know, you got to snap all this crap back into place. Now this will snap into place. And now it's pretty snug in there. The screen's pretty delicate, so you gotta be really careful when you put that on there, because you bend it all up, and you put your spring back in here. You got your gaskets and everything else. Another thing that I've learned, when you go to put this back on, you're going to want to make sure that you fill up this reservoir here. This reservoir here. That's where your screen sits in there. That's for your pump. Or for your jets, for the jet that's in there. You're going to want to make sure you prime that, fill it up with the gas. It works better that way. Otherwise, it's going to take a while for it to refill back up. Now, it does have a spillover on this one side here, so the gas will fall back in there if you get too much in there. I don't know if it really makes a difference, but I usually just kind of crisscross a little bit. I don't really tighten them yet. I'll snug them. And once you snug them down, I usually just give them another probably a quarter to half a turn. I usually pretty much tightens them all up then. Alright, well, if I sound a little different on this camera, it's because, well,